The knock on my apartment door sounded harmless, almost gentle, nothing like the blow it was about to deliver. I had just stepped out of the shower, a towel wrapped around my hair, when I opened the door to find a delivery man holding the most extravagant bouquet I had ever seen. Lavender roses, white peonies, and rare black calla lilies, wrapped in a silky deep purple ribbon. The kind of arrangement you'd see at a Fifth Avenue wedding, not the doorstep of a woman whose marriage was quietly dying. "Flower delivery for Savannah Keene," the man read from the label, squinting. My heart paused. "That's not me," I whispered, but he was already flipping the card. "Address matches, must be yours." He pushed the bouquet into my hands, oblivious to the grenade he had just dropped into my life. I didn't want to look. I shouldn't have looked, but the small ivory card slipped out on its own, falling onto my hardwood floor like a verdict. Savannah. Last night was unforgettable. Tonight will be even better. B. For a moment I couldn't breathe. The apartment around me blurred, the marble kitchen island, the soft gray couch Brandon insisted we buy, even the Cartier box still sitting unopened from our anniversary last year. My lungs felt tight, my fingers trembling around the stems. The delivery man cleared his throat, awkward. If there's a mistake, I can..." But I stepped back and shut the door before he could finish. The silence swallowed me whole. My husband had sent flowers, just not to his wife. I sank onto the floor, the bouquet slipping from my hands, petals scattering like pieces of a life I thought I knew. A ringing started in my ears, faint at first, then louder, drowning everything. Because there was one detail the delivery man didn't realize. Savannah didn't live in my building. She didn't even live in this neighborhood. Which meant only one thing. Brandon had given the florist my address because he had been here with her. And that horrifying truth was just the beginning. The moment I shut the door, my knees nearly gave out. I stumbled into the kitchen, gripping the marble counter as if it were the only solid thing left in my life. The bouquet lay on the floor behind me, petals crushed under my heel, like proof of a betrayal too loud to ignore. My hands were shaking so violently, I had to steady myself against the stainless steel fridge. The digital clock on the oven blinked 10:14 a.m. Ordinary, indifferent, mocking. How could the world stay the same when mine had just been ripped open? I grabbed my phone from the counter, hoping, no, begging, for some logical explanation. Maybe the florist messed up. Maybe the card wasn't from Brandon. Maybe... My screen lit up before I could unlock it. A text from him. "Brandon, did the Amazon package arrive? I need it for my meeting later." Amazon. Not flowers, not a note, not a single word about love. The room spun a little. I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling the familiar tightness, a warning from the heart condition I'd battled since college. Stress was dangerous for me. He knew that. He always knew. But caring about my health had become optional for him long ago. I typed back slowly. Me. A delivery came, but it wasn't mine. His reply came instantly. "Brandon, then send it back. I don't have time for this." Time. He never had time. Not when I lost our first pregnancy. Not when I worked 14-hour days during Christmas season. Not when our anniversary passed unnoticed 3 months ago. A tremor went through me as another memory surfaced. Brandon, stepping into the hallway last week to take a call, whispering in that soft tone he never used with me anymore. When he came back, he claimed it was just a coworker asking about a client. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. But the bouquet, the card, the address. The truth was no longer avoidable. I sank to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. Cold air from the vent brushed my skin, but the real chill came from the realization settling in my bones. He hadn't just cheated. He had brought her into my home, into the space where I slept, ate, healed, and tried to rebuild myself after every storm he caused. And then, right as I wiped my tears with the sleeve of my robe, my phone buzzed again, this time with a notification that made my stomach drop. It wasn't Brandon. It was someone else. Someone who knew more than I did. The notification banner slid across my screen with a soft chime, too soft for the kind of devastation it carried. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand and tapped the message open, bracing myself without knowing why. It wasn't a text. It was a photo, sent from an unknown number. At first, it was blurry. My fingers trembled as I zoomed in. A woman's hand, perfectly manicured in scarlet red, resting on a familiar charcoal bedsheet. My bedsheet. The one Brandon insisted we buy last winter because hotel-grade linen would help us sleep better. A sickening pulse thudded at the base of my skull. The next image loaded automatically. This time, it was unmistakable. My nightstand lamp, my Cartier jewelry box, my bedroom window overlooking Columbus Circle. And in the bottom corner of the frame, the edge of Brandon's watch, the silver Omega I gave him for his birthday. The blood drained from my face. My safe place, my sanctuary, defiled. I read the message beneath the photos. He told me you were staying with a friend that night. Guess he lied to both of us. A slow, icy wave crept over my spine. Whoever this was, they knew exactly what they were doing, delivering truth in the most brutal way possible. I typed with shaking fingers. Me. Who is this? A 3-dot bubble appeared, then disappeared, appeared again. My heart hammered. Finally. Let's just say I'm someone who thought she was special to him. Turns out we're both disposable. My vision blurred. So there wasn't just Savannah. There were more, or at least one more, one smart enough, hurt enough, to contact me directly. The kitchen felt smaller, the air heavier. I pressed a palm to the cold marble floor, grounding myself before the dizziness overtook me again. My heart murmured the familiar stutter, my condition reacting to stress like a faulty alarm. I needed air, space, anything but this suffocating truth. But before I could stand, another message popped up. If you want to know the rest, meet me today. Don't tell Brandon. A location pin followed, the River Cafe in Brooklyn. Elegant, expensive, exposed. I stared at it, pulse thundering. This wasn't just an affair, it was something bigger, something tangled, something dangerous. And deep down, I felt it. This woman wasn't warning me. She was pulling me into something. By late afternoon, the sky over Manhattan had turned a muted gray, the kind of color that made the city feel heavier, as if it sensed what I was walking into. I stood outside the River Cafe, its warm glow reflecting on the East River, the Brooklyn Bridge arching overhead like a witness. My fingers tightened around my coat collar as I stepped inside. The hostess guided me to a small corner table. Sitting there, waiting, was a woman I had never seen before. Her beauty wasn't loud like Savannah's. It was sharper, quieter, more dangerous. Dark hair, straight bob, tailored black coat, a pair of diamond studs that hinted she was no stranger to luxury. But her eyes, icy blue, held exhaustion. And something like vengeance. She didn't smile. "You're Claire," she said, voice low and steady. I nodded, sinking into the chair opposite her. You sent me the photos. Yes, she folded her hands. My name is Elise Turner. Name unfamiliar, story unknown, stakes rising. I forced a breath. How do you know Brandon? A fleeting smirk touched her lips.
Let's just say, I used to know him well enough to see through every lie he tells.
The waiter approached, but Elise waved him off. Her attention was locked on me. I didn't ask you here to hurt you, she said, but you need to understand the kind of man you're married to. A prickle of dread crawled up my spine. I already know he's cheating. Elise shook her head. No, Claire. That's the smallest part. I froze. She reached into her bag and slid a sleek black envelope across the table. I stared at it, afraid to touch it. Elise, what is this? Proof, she said quietly, of what he's been doing behind your back, and behind his company's back. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. Why give this to me? Her gaze softened just a fraction. Because I thought I was the only one he wrecked. Turns out, you were first. The words landed like a punch. First, meaning there were more.
Many more. As I lifted the envelope, my pulse hammered in my throat. Elise leaned in slightly. Be careful, she whispered. You're married to a man who isn't just unfaithful. He's reckless. And reckless men are dangerous when cornered. The restaurant suddenly felt colder, because somewhere deep inside, I knew she was right. And whatever truth lay inside that envelope was about to change everything. My fingers hesitated at the flap of the black envelope. Something about its weight felt wrong, heavier than paper should ever feel. Elise watched me the way someone watches a person step toward the edge of a cliff. Go ahead, she said softly. You deserve to know what he's done. I slid the documents out. At first, they looked like standard financial reports, department budgets, approval signatures, expense statements. But then my eyes caught something familiar. Brandon's signature, repeated, across multiple transactions. My stomach tightened. These weren't company-approved expenses. They were personal. Lavish hotel bills, jewelry purchases, cash withdrawals, transfers to an account under a name I didn't recognize. What is all this? I whispered. Elise exhaled, her stare unwavering. He's been funneling company money into a private account for months, and using it to fund women. Not just one, several. I felt the blood rushing in my ears, the room tilting dangerously. No, he wouldn't. She cut me off gently. He would. He did. And he's close to getting caught. That's why he told you he's been stressed at work. He's not stressed. He's terrified. My heart pounded in painful, uneven beats, my condition warning me again. I pressed a hand to the table to steady myself. Elise, why tell me now? Her jaw clenched. For the first time since we met, the mask slipped, revealing something raw beneath. Because I was one of the women, she admitted. Not anymore, but long enough to see the truth. Long enough to realize he's capable of ruining anyone's life to save himself. The words hit like a blow. She leaned closer. Claire, listen carefully. If the company uncovers this, Brandon will do whatever he must to protect himself. And that includes throwing you under the bus. He's already preparing for it. A chill shot up my spine. What do you mean? Elise pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. On the screen was a draft email, never sent, but unmistakably written by Brandon, accusing me of unauthorized spending. Me, the wife who barely used the joint account except for groceries. He was going to blame you, Elise said. Make you the scapegoat. The unstable wife, the one with a heart condition. Easy target. My hands went cold. He wasn't just cheating. He was setting me up, and the realization settled into my bones with horrifying clarity. I wasn't married to a selfish man. I was married to a threat. By the time I left the River Cafe, the sun had vanished behind the skyline, leaving the East River rippling with cold blue reflections. My legs felt stiff, almost numb, as if they no longer belonged to me. Elise's words replayed in my head like a broken record. He's going to blame you. He's preparing to destroy you. The city felt different that night, sharper, louder, and unforgiving. I clutched my coat tighter and hurried toward the nearest subway, feeling watched even when no one was there. When I finally stepped into our apartment, the lights were already on. Brandon was home. He stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, wine glass in hand like it was any ordinary evening. The sight of him, comfortable, relaxed, untouched by guilt, made my stomach twist. "There you are," he said, voice smooth as polished marble. "Where have you been?" I swallowed hard. "Out." He raised a brow. "Out where?" I set my handbag on the counter, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Brandon, we need to talk." He laughed, a short, dry sound. "About what? The delivery earlier? I told you, just send it back." I looked at him carefully, studying the face I thought I knew. How many times had he lied with that same expression? How many times had I believed him? "Who is Savannah Keene?" I asked quietly. His jaw tensed for half a second, just long enough for me to catch it, before he covered it with a smirk. "You're overthinking again," he said. "This is why you're always stressed." Always. Stressed. My heart tightened painfully. "And what about Elise?" I pushed. For the first time, his expression changed, vanished, really. He froze completely. I stepped closer. "She sent me everything, Brandon. The hotel bills, the transfers, the emails you drafted blaming me." He slammed the wine glass onto the counter, shards scattering. "Careful," he snapped, voice colder than the river. "You don't know what you're talking about." My breath hitched. The warning was unmistakable. He moved toward me, slow and deliberate. "Whatever lies she fed you, you better forget them. Elise is bitter, jealous, unstable." "She wasn't the one sneaking women into our bed," I said, voice trembling but clear. A vein pulsed in his temple. For a moment, silence stretched. Then he leaned in so close I smelled the wine on his breath. "Claire," he whispered, "if you don't stop this, things will get very, very difficult for you." A chill sliced down my spine, because I suddenly understood this wasn't a husband angry about being confronted. This was a man warning the woman he was about to destroy. His threat hung in the air long after he stepped back, the silence thick enough to choke me. My pulse thudded unevenly, my heart condition reacting like a startled bird trapped inside my chest. Brandon noticed. He always noticed. And tonight, he looked almost pleased about it. "You should lie down," he said, voice smooth but empty. "Stress isn't good for you." The implication was clear. Neither am I. I forced myself to stand straighter, though my legs felt like glass.
I'm not letting you pin your crimes on me. His eyes sharpened. Crimes? A dangerous smile curved because he knew something I didn't.
You think Elise gave you everything? She didn't. She wouldn't.
He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. She's manipulating you. She wants revenge, and you're the easiest pawn. Pawn. The word stung more than the threat. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed on the island. He glanced at it, then at me, then casually flipped it face down, too quickly. I caught a glimpse of the name on the screen. Aidan Crowell. My breath halted. Aidan, the CEO my company often worked with. The man whose events I designed. Reserved, brilliant, wealthy. He and Brandon were acquaintances at best. They had no personal business. None. Why is Aidan calling you? I asked. Brandon shrugged, indifferent. We're working on something. Lie. His left hand twitched, his tell when he was lying. I thought you were in marketing, I said slowly. Aidan owns an architecture group. Brandon's jaw tightened for a split second before he masked it. It's complicated. Everything suddenly felt connected in a way I didn't understand. Aidan, Brandon, Elise, the financial documents, the secret account, the women, the lies. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Brandon's gaze snapped to me. Don't answer that. I did. A deep voice, calm but urgent, filled my ear. Claire, it's Aidan Crowell. I need to speak with you immediately. I froze. Brandon's expression darkened. Aidan continued, It's about your husband, and you're not safe with him tonight. Ice spread across my skin. How do you know that? I whispered. Because, Aidan said, breath steady. Brandon tried to use my company to cover his tracks, and he's desperate enough to do something reckless. A tremor went through me. You need to leave the apartment.
Now.
Brandon took a step toward me. Claire, he said softly. Hang up. But for the first time in months, I didn't listen to him. Aidan's voice echoed in my ear long after the call ended, my pulse pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. Leave the apartment. Now. But Brandon stood between me and the door, calm, composed, calculating. Who was that? He asked, tone deceptively soft. I slid my phone into my pocket. A client. He stepped closer. Clients don't call at night, and they don't sound like they're giving you orders. My throat tightened. Every instinct screamed to run, but I forced myself into stillness. I need some air, I said. Brandon laughed under his breath. No, Claire, not tonight. You're staying right here, and we're going to fix whatever nonsense Elise and that man are putting in your head. The way he said, that man, sent a chill down my spine.
He knew Aidan was involved. Maybe he knew more than that.
I made a slow move toward the hallway. Brandon's hand shot out, gripping my wrist, tight enough to make me wince. Where are you planning to go? He whispered. I'm not doing this, I said, pulling free. Not tonight. My heartbeat thudded unevenly, my conditions starting to flare. Black spots danced in my vision. Brandon noticed immediately. Careful, he murmured. Stress isn't good for you, remember? That wasn't concern. It was leverage. A wave of dizziness hit, but I forced myself toward the bedroom. Brandon followed, pacing behind me like a shadow glued to my spine. You're overreacting, Claire, he said, voice smooth as poison. You always do this. Twist things, invent drama. I spun around. I didn't invent those photos, or that email, or Savannah. His jaw twitched. You're emotional. You're sick.
You don't think clearly when
When I catch you cheating? I snapped. He froze. The truth had finally cut through his performance. That was my moment. I grabbed the first thing I could, my handbag, and sprinted toward the front door. Brandon lunged, fingers brushing the back of my coat, but I ripped free and yanked the door open. My heart pounded violently as I flew down the hallway. "Claire!" he yelled. "Come back here!" I didn't look back. I stabbed the elevator button. Nothing. I turned and bolted toward the stairs, heels slamming against the metal steps as I descended 2 floors in a blur of fear and adrenaline. When I burst onto the street, cold night air slapped my face. I stumbled forward, and a black Mercedes S-Class rolled up beside me. The passenger door opened. Aiden was inside.
Claire, he said, voice steady but urgent, get in.
And for the first time that night, I finally exhaled. The second I slid into the Mercedes, the door shut behind me with a soft, final thud, like the sound of my old life sealing itself away. My heartbeat pounded loud and erratic from the adrenaline and the run down the stairwell. Aiden glanced at me, his jaw tight, eyes sharp with concern. "You're shaking," he said quietly. "I'm fine," I lied. He didn't challenge it. He simply reached over, turned up the heat a little, and pulled the car into traffic with practiced precision. Manhattan lights streaked past the windows, neon, cold, unforgiving, matching the chaos inside my head. "Why were you calling Brandon?" I finally asked, voice trembling despite my effort. Aiden kept his eyes on the road. "I wasn't. He was calling me." That startled me.
Why would he call you? To get help, Aiden said bitterly. Help covering something he shouldn't have touched. My chest tightened. "The money Elise showed me?" He nodded. "That's only a piece of it. Your husband didn't just misuse company funds. He tried to route part of it through my firm, through me." My breath hitched. "Why you?" "Because he assumed I owed him." Aiden's grip tightened slightly on the steering wheel. "He thinks saving me from one PR nightmare years ago gives him a lifetime pass." I blinked, confused. "Saved you?" Aiden hesitated, then exhaled. "Someone leaked internal documents from my company. Brandon found out who did it and stopped the leak. He called it getting even for a favor I never asked for." My stomach twisted. "So he blackmailed you?" "Effectively, yes," Aiden said. "And now he's desperate. He tried to use my name to mask his transfers. If that goes public, it hits my company and me first." The realization slammed into me. Brandon wasn't just cheating. He wasn't just lying. He was dragging down everyone he touched. Aiden's voice softened. "Claire, you were never meant to be involved in this. When I saw he was trying to shift blame toward you, I couldn't stay silent." My pulse skipped. He really planned to frame me? Aiden's jaw hardened. He drafted statements claiming you accessed his accounts. The board was supposed to review it next week. The car slowed as we approached a red light. Aiden finally looked at me, fully, deeply. "You're not going back there," he said. "Not tonight. Not until we figure out how to protect you." I swallowed hard. Where am I supposed to go? Aiden turned the wheel, guiding us toward the Upper East Side. "To my penthouse," he said. "Where he can't reach you." And for the first time, the fear in my chest shifted, making room for something else. Hope. The Mercedes glided through the Upper East Side, passing quiet brownstones and glittering storefronts,
until it turned into a private driveway guarded by a discreet security booth. The officer recognized the car instantly and lifted the gate without question. My stomach fluttered, part fear, part shock, because this wasn't just safety. This was another world. Aiden parked in an underground garage lined with polished concrete and luxury cars. He opened my door himself, his expression steady but unreadable. "Come on," he said gently. "You're safe here." Safe. I hadn't felt that word in a long time. We took the private elevator up to the 32nd floor. My reflection in the mirrored walls looked like a ghost, pale, shaken, mascara smudged.
Aiden stood beside me, tall and composed, but I noticed the tension in his jaw. He wasn't unaffected by this. When the elevator doors opened, warm light spilled out. His penthouse wasn't ostentatious. It was elegant, understated, with floor-to-ceiling windows revealing the Manhattan skyline glittering against the night. A soft beige sofa, a marble fireplace, shelves filled with architecture books, and a Mont Blanc pen resting beside an open notebook on the counter. This wasn't a bachelor pad. It was a sanctuary. Aiden rested a hand lightly on the back of a chair. "Sit. I'll get you water." I lowered myself onto the sofa, trying to steady my breathing. The city lights outside shimmered like scattered diamonds, too calm for the chaos inside me. When Aiden returned, he handed me a glass. His fingers brushed mine, warm and grounding. "Claire," he said, sitting across from me, "I need you to listen carefully." I nodded, heart hammering. "Your husband is unraveling fast, and desperate men make dangerous choices." My throat tightened. "What choices?" Aiden exhaled. He called me earlier asking for help to cover a missing $280,000 from his division. He hinted he'd handle the domestic situation soon, so no one could question his stability. A chill crawled up my spine. "Domestic situation?" "You," Aiden said quietly. My hands went cold. "He's planning something, Claire. Whether it's framing you, pushing you out of the apartment, or worse. I don't know, but I'm not letting him near you." Something inside me cracked, a sob, a tremor, the last piece of denial breaking. "I don't know how to do this alone," I whispered. Aiden leaned forward, his voice steady, unwavering. "You're not alone anymore." And for the first time in a very long time, I believed it. Sleep didn't come easily. After Aiden showed me the guest room, soft ivory bedding, warm lighting, a window overlooking the glowing city, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of Manhattan far below. It should have been peaceful, should have felt safe. But nothing inside me felt safe. Every time I closed my eyes, Brandon's voice slithered back into my mind. "Careful. You don't know what you're talking about. Things will get very, very difficult for you." Threats dressed as concern. My chest tightened again, that familiar flicker of pain beneath my ribs. Stress was the one thing my heart couldn't handle. But how could I not feel it? My entire world had cracked in a single day. A soft knock tapped against the door. "Claire?" Aiden's voice, gentle. "Are you awake?" I hesitated. "Yes." He stepped inside, keeping a respectful distance, staying near the doorframe like he didn't want to overwhelm me. His shirt sleeves were rolled to his elbows now, hair slightly tousled, like he'd been pacing instead of sleeping. "I heard you moving around," he said. "Do you need anything?" I sat up, pulling the blanket around me. "I don't know what I need." He nodded, as if he understood more than I expected.
When everything fell apart for me years ago, I couldn't sleep either. I frowned. You? You seem so in control. Aiden gave a small, rueful laugh. Everyone looks in control from the outside. For a moment, silence filled the space between us, not tense, but fragile. He stepped a little closer. Claire, you've been hurt in more ways than you can process right now. Betrayal, fear, humiliation, uncertainty, all compacted into one day.
No one could handle that alone. My eyes stung. I'm scared he'll come after me. Aiden's expression hardened with resolve. He won't. There's 24/7 security downstairs, and if he tries anything, he'll regret it. Those words shouldn't have comforted me, but they did. Still, a darker truth pressed on me. I don't know who I am without him. I built my life around our marriage. Aiden shook his head slowly. No. You built your life around love and loyalty. He built his around manipulation. Those are not the same thing. My breath trembled. Claire, he said softly, you're stronger than you think. You left him. You chose yourself. That already makes you more powerful than he ever expected. Something warm flickered in my chest, small, fragile, but real. Hope, again. Morning arrived too quickly. The soft gold light spilling through the guest room blinds felt out of place in the chaos of my life. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours, but the adrenaline kept me moving. When I stepped out into the living area, Aiden was already there, coffee in hand, sleeves rolled, studying something on his MacBook Pro with a deep frown. He looked up as soon as he heard me. Morning, he said gently. How's your heart? I pressed a hand to my chest. Still beating. That's a start. He set his coffee down. Claire, we need to go over something important before anything else happens. The seriousness in his tone sent a prickle of fear down my spine. What is it? Aiden turned the laptop toward me. On the screen were bank statements, emails, approval chains, far more detailed than what Elise had shown me. My pulse quickened. These aren't just his transactions, I whispered. This is everything. Aiden nodded. My team pulled these late last night. Brandon wasn't sloppy, but he wasn't careful enough either. I scrolled through the files. They were transfers to Savannah, payments to luxury hotels I'd never heard of, a suspicious consulting firm with no website, cash withdrawals that aligned with nights he claimed he was working late, and then my name. My breath hitched. A series of forged requests with my digital signature attached. Aiden, I said, voice breaking. I never signed these. I never even saw them. That's because he lifted your signature from old documents, Aiden replied. And he submitted these as evidence you were mismanaging the shared funds. A tremor went through my hands. He was setting me up months ago, I whispered. Not just last week. Claire, Aiden said softly but firmly. He planned to destroy your credibility before his company ever suspected anything. If this had gone through the board, you would have been the fall guy. The truth hit me with a force that stole my breath. I wasn't collateral damage. I was the escape plan. Aiden leaned forward. There's more. I swallowed hard. More? He clicked another folder. It contained screenshots, messages Brandon had exchanged with Savannah. Flirtatious, manipulative, careless. But one thread pulled my stomach into a knot. Savannah, you promised you'd get rid of the apartment situation. I won't wait forever.
Brandon, I told you once Claire is out, the place is yours. Savannah, and her stuff? Brandon, in storage or the trash. My lungs locked. He wasn't just pushing me away, he was planning to erase me. Aiden's voice softened but carried steel.
That apartment isn't safe anymore, and neither is he. I felt the fear rising again, but underneath it, something else began to burn. Fury. For the first time, the woman who entered Aiden's penthouse broken began to crack open into someone new. For a long moment, I couldn't move. The words on the screen blurred at the edges, my pulse thundering like a drumbeat echoing in my ribs. Brandon hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. He had mapped out my disappearance from his life with surgical precision. Erase her. Erase the marriage. Erase the evidence. Aiden watched me quietly, giving me space to absorb it. When I finally lifted my eyes, the fury burning inside me was no longer fragile. It was steady, focused. "What happens now?" I asked, voice steadier than I expected. Aiden closed the laptop. "Now, we stop him before he stops you." I blinked. "Stop him how?" He leaned back slightly, thinking, his expression turning sharp, strategic. Brandon's biggest weakness is that he thinks everyone around him is stupid. That makes him sloppy and arrogant. I almost laughed bitterly. He never thought I'd leave. Exactly, Aiden nodded. And he still thinks you're scared. That gives you leverage. A nervous breath escaped me. Leverage for what? To flip the story, he said, completely. He stood and walked to a small console table near the window, pulling out a thin folder. When he handed it to me, I recognized the emblem embossed on the cover. Crowell Design Group. But inside wasn't architectural paperwork. It was a list of names. Private investigators, forensic accountants, security consultants, all highly reputable, all expensive, all within Aiden's reach. "You're not fighting him alone," he said. "I've handled men like Brandon before, men who think their power protects them. It doesn't." I swallowed. "Aiden, this is too much. I can't let you—" "You didn't ask for any of this," he cut in gently. "He dragged you into a mess that could destroy your life. I'm simply giving you the tools to walk back out." My eyes stung, but this time it wasn't from fear. "Why are you helping me?" Aiden hesitated, then answered quietly, "Because I know what it feels like to have someone try to take everything from you. And because you didn't deserve any of this." There was something unsaid in his voice, something that made my heart skip, painfully but not from illness. He stepped closer. "Claire, listen carefully. Starting today, you're not reacting. You're acting." My breath trembled. "Acting how?" Aiden's expression hardened with resolve. "We gather everything. We build a timeline. We expose the financial fraud. And when the moment is right," he met my eyes, steady, unwavering. "You take back your life." A spark lit inside me, not just hope this time, resolve. The plan felt solid in my hands, but Aiden's warning echoed in my mind as I stepped out of the penthouse later that afternoon. "Your husband isn't your only danger." I didn't understand what he meant until I received a text the moment I exited the elevator. "Meet me, urgent. Pier 17, 30 minutes. Come alone." I knew that tone. Smug, sharp, calculated. Savannah. Part of me wanted to ignore her entirely.
But another part, the part that needed answers, knew I couldn't. Not yet. By the time I arrived at Pier 17, the wind whipped off the water, sharp enough to sting my cheeks. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the wooden planks.
And there she was, leaning against the railing, red coat cinched tight, sunglasses despite the fading light. Savannah Keene, the mistress, the woman who'd slept in my bed and laughed with my husband. She smiled when she saw me, a knife disguised as a greeting. "Claire," she purred, "you look better than I expected." I ignored the jab. "Why did you call me?" She pushed off the railing, heels clicking as she walked closer. "Because you're in over your head. Brandon is losing control. And when he does, he'll drag everyone down, including you." I crossed my arms. "Why do you care?" Her smile sharpened. "I don't. But I care about myself. And he promised me things he can't deliver anymore." My stomach tightened. "Like my apartment?" "Among other things." She tilted her head. "You think Elise was the only one?" "Sweetheart, Brandon's been making promises to half this city." The words hit hard, but not as hard as what she said next. "You're not the only one he planned to blame." I stiffened. "What?" Savannah slid her phone into my hand. "Look." There it was. A message Brandon sent her days ago. "If this blows up, we both deny everything. Claire takes the fall. She's fragile, unpredictable. Everyone will believe it." My blood turned to ice. Savannah stepped closer, her perfume too familiar. My sheets still held a trace of it. "You think I'm the villain in your story," she whispered. "But the real villain is the man you married." I swallowed, voice barely steady. "What do you want from me?" She smirked. "Not much. I just want to survive." And right now, the only way to do that is to make sure Brandon doesn't. Her words cut through the cold air, and for the first time, I realized Savannah wasn't here to threaten me. She was offering an alliance, a dangerous one. For a long moment, I just stared at Savannah, wondering how the woman who destroyed my marriage had somehow become the only person willing to tell me the truth. The wind whipped her hair across her face, but her expression didn't waver. She was confident, calculated, a survivor. I hated that part of me understood her. "I'm not teaming up with you," I finally said, stepping back. "This isn't a game." She smirked. "Claire, it became a game the moment Brandon involved me. And Elise, and God knows who else. You're just late realizing it." She wasn't wrong, and that infuriated me. Savannah sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes. "Look, I didn't call you here to argue. I called because Brandon is spiraling, and spiral men do stupid things. Dangerous things." Her tone dropped, sharper now, more serious. "He's scared of you, Claire." I blinked. "Scared? Of me?" She nodded. "You know too much now, and you have something he can't control." "What?" "Empathy." She crossed her arms. "People believe you, not him. You think HR or his board or the press will side with a man who's been cheating, skimming money, and trying to blame his sick wife?" My breath caught at the word sick. My heart condition. Brandon had weaponized it against me for years. Savannah noticed the shift in my expression. "Exactly. If this blows up, he's done. Professionally, socially, financially. Men like Brandon don't survive scandal. They implode." A chill rippled through me.
So what are you saying? I'm saying he's preparing a last move. Her voice was steady, icy. He's cornered.
Cornered men either confess or set the whole board on fire.
The wind howled between us. I saw his texts today, she continued, pulling out her phone. He's talking to someone else now. Someone who can help fix the Claire situation. A lump formed in my throat. Fix me? Don't look so shocked. Savannah's voice softened just slightly. Brandon only cares about Brandon. He'll sacrifice anyone, even me, especially you. My pulse pounded painfully. Why are you helping me? I whispered. Savannah finally let her mask slip. There was hurt beneath her arrogance, fear beneath her confidence. Because I was stupid enough to believe him once, she said, and it almost cost me everything. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. And because if we don't work together now, he'll take us both down. Something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness, not trust, but recognition.
Brandon wasn't just a cheater. He was a threat. And the two women he underestimated most were about to become his biggest problem. I didn't sleep that night. After leaving Pier 17, Savannah's words kept echoing through my mind, haunting, sharp, painfully true. Cornered men set everything on fire. By the time I returned to Aiden's penthouse, my nerves were coiled so tightly I felt like I might snap. Aiden noticed instantly. What happened? He asked. Savannah, I whispered. She showed me things, messages. Brandon is planning something. Aiden's expression darkened. Then we need to move faster. He called his security team, spoke in low, clipped tones, and within minutes we were in his Mercedes again, heading straight toward the apartment Brandon and I once shared. You can't go in alone, Aiden said firmly. I know, I whispered. But I also knew I couldn't avoid the place forever. My life was in there, my memories, my proof. When we pulled up to the building, everything looked normal, too normal. The concierge nodded at me politely, unaware of the storm boiling beneath the calm exterior. Inside the elevator, my heart thudded painfully. The closer we rose to my floor, the harder it became to breathe. When the doors opened, I froze. My apartment door was slightly ajar. Aiden stepped in front of me instantly, raising a hand. Stay behind me. He pushed the door open slowly. The lights were off. The air smelled wrong, musty and cold, as if someone had been here for hours. His footsteps were silent on the hardwood floor as he scanned each room. Then, Claire, he called from the bedroom, voice tight, controlled. Come here. Carefully. My stomach dropped. I walked in slowly, then stopped dead. My closet was empty. Not just tidied, not rearranged. Empty. Clothes gone, shoes gone, boxes gone, everything gone. Aiden crouched near the bed where something lay on the floor. He picked it up and held it out to me. A storage unit receipt. Paid under my name. Signed with a forged version of my signature. Scheduled for pickup tomorrow morning. I felt the room tilt. He was moving your things out, Aiden said quietly. No, I whispered, backing up, shaking my head. He wouldn't do that without. But deep down, I knew he would. He already had. A tremor ran through me, my chest tightening sharply. I pressed a hand to my ribs, breath shuddering. Aiden stepped forward. Claire, breathe. Look at me. But then his expression shifted. eyes narrowing at something behind me. "Claire," he said slowly, "don't turn around." I froze, because someone else was inside the apartment.
My breath caught in my throat. Aiden's voice, low, firm, and deadly calm, hung in the air. "Claire, don't turn around." Every muscle in my body locked. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too dark, too silent. My pulse thudded in my ears, a warning drumbeat. A floorboard creaked behind me. Someone was standing in the hallway, watching us, listening. Aiden shifted slightly, placing himself between me and whatever or whoever was there. His posture was protective, tense, ready. "Come out," Aiden demanded. "Slowly. No surprises." Silence. Then a figure stepped into the faint light. Not Brandon. A stranger. Tall, broad shoulders, worn leather jacket, dark hair, eyes sharp and assessing. My stomach plunged. "Who are you?" Aiden demanded, voice steady but edged with danger. The man lifted his hands calmly. "Relax.
"I'm not here to hurt anyone." "That's exactly what someone here to hurt someone would say," Aiden snapped. But the man ignored him, his gaze locked on me. "You're Claire Whitman, right?" My breath faltered. "Yes?" He nodded slowly, almost sympathetically. "You don't know me, but your husband does." A chill rushed through me. Aiden stepped forward. "Answer the question. Who are you?" The stranger pulled a small leather wallet from his jacket and tossed it onto the bed. Aiden picked it up, flipping it open. His expression shifted. Confusion, then shock, then fury. He held it up so I could see. A badge. Private investigator. New York State license. The man spoke quietly, almost apologetically. "My name is Marcus Hale. Brandon hired me 6 months ago." My stomach twisted. "To investigate what?" Aiden asked sharply. Marcus looked directly at me. "You." The floor seemed to drop beneath my feet. "Why?" I whispered. Marcus hesitated, just a moment, but it was enough to confirm everything I feared. "Because," he said, "Brandon needed dirt on you. Something he could use if his financial scheme was exposed." I felt Aiden's hand at my elbow, steadying me as my vision swayed. "But here's the thing," Marcus continued, stepping closer. "I didn't find anything. You're clean. Too clean. And that made Brandon nervous." He reached into his jacket again, slowly, and held out a flash drive. "This is everything," Marcus said. "Evidence, messages, recordings. The real story of your husband." My heart pounded. "Why give it to me?" I whispered. Marcus exhaled. "Because last week, Brandon told me to plant evidence against you." A pause. "I don't frame innocent people." The room fell silent. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was war. For a moment, no one moved. The flash drive sat in Marcus's palm like a live grenade. Small, unassuming, but capable of blowing Brandon's entire world apart. My breath caught as Aiden took it from him carefully, his eyes never leaving Marcus. "You expect us to believe this is real?" Aiden asked, voice calm but edged with suspicion. Marcus didn't flinch. "Plug it in. You'll see." Aiden guided me out of the bedroom toward the living room, keeping one eye on Marcus as if ready to shield me at any second. My legs shook with every step. It felt unreal, walking through what used to be my home,
now a crime scene of lies and betrayal. Aiden set his laptop on the dining table, inserted the drive, and opened the first folder. My heart nearly stopped. Audio file 01, Brandon, Marcus, 3 months ago. Marcus's voice came first. "So you want me to dig into your wife?" Brandon's reply slithered through the speakers, cold and slick.
She's too clean, too quiet. People like that always have something to hide. I just need leverage. Leverage. The word burned. Audio file 2. Brandon, Savannah, 6 weeks ago. Savannah's laugh echoed, brittle and careless.
When are you going to get rid of her?
When I'm ready, Brandon snapped. I need the paperwork lined up first. My lawyers can't move until the narrative is right. Narrative. Like my life was a script he could rewrite. I gripped the edge of the table as Aiden clicked open another file. Screenshots of Brandon's messages to a second private investigator. Not Marcus. Someone else entirely. He wasn't just planning one escape route. He was building multiple. Marcus stepped forward. There's more. The recordings show he knows the company is closing in on him. He's planning to frame you first, then disappear. Disappear. My blood ran cold. Aiden's jaw tightened. Where? Marcus hesitated for the first time. He mentioned a transfer, offshore, and Savannah. She's part of it, whether she admits it or not. My pulse spiked. Savannah hadn't said a word about that. Aiden shut the laptop with a sharp snap. Enough. Claire needs protection, and we need to get ahead of this. Marcus nodded. I can help. I know his patterns. I know his contacts. And most importantly, he looked straight at me, eyes steady, sincere. Brandon severely underestimated you. That's his weakness. My breath trembled. Aiden placed a hand gently on my back. Claire, he said quietly, this is the moment we stop surviving and start fighting. And somewhere deep inside me, beneath the fear, beneath the heartbreak, something fierce finally woke up. For the first time in months, I stood taller. Maybe it was the flash drive, heavy with truth. Maybe it was Marcus, unexpectedly loyal. Maybe it was Aiden, quietly, unwaveringly protective. Or maybe it was simply me, finally awake. We left the apartment building under cover of dusk, Aiden walking on my left, Marcus on my right, forming a silent shield around me. The cold air bit at my cheeks, but I welcomed it. It reminded me I was still alive, still fighting. Inside the Mercedes, Aiden turned slightly toward me. Claire, we're going to need one more thing before we take this to his company, he said. What? I asked, bracing myself. Your statement, your timeline, your truth. My stomach tightened. I don't know if I'm ready. Aiden's eyes softened. You're more ready than you think, and we'll guide you. Marcus nodded. The board won't just listen to evidence. They'll listen to you. You're the one he targeted. The car began to move, gliding through the city with purpose. I looked out the window, Manhattan glowing beneath the night sky. A few days ago, I thought this city was swallowing me whole. But tonight, it felt like it was holding its breath with me, waiting. When we reached Aiden's headquarters, a tall building with glass walls that reflected the skyline, my legs trembled as I stepped out. Not from fear this time, from determination. The 30th floor boardroom was empty, quiet, powerful. City lights poured through the windows, illuminating the long walnut table. A MacBook, a Mont Blanc pen, a glass carafe of water,
Simple things, yet suddenly symbolic. Aiden motioned to a seat. This is where we prepare. I sat. Marcus placed the flash drive in front of me. Aiden dimmed the lights and turned on the projector. And then, for 3 hours, we built the case. Every transaction Brandon forged, every lie he crafted, every threat he made, every woman he used,
Every attempt to destroy me. Piece by piece, we turned his crimes into weapons, not of revenge, but of justice. When we finally finished, the clock on the wall read 1:42 a.m. Aiden closed the laptop. Tomorrow, everything changes. Marcus looked at me with quiet respect. You're stronger than he ever knew. I exhaled slowly, steady, calm. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I believed it. The reckoning was coming, and I would be the one delivering it. The morning of the board meeting felt unreal, too still, too bright, like the silence before a storm breaks everything open. I stood in front of the mirror in Aiden's penthouse, my reflection steadier than I expected. For once, I didn't look like the woman Brandon tried to break. I looked like someone rebuilding herself from the ashes. Aiden appeared behind me, offering a small nod. Ready? I wasn't, but I was done being afraid. We arrived at Brandon's headquarters just as the executives gathered. Glass walls, polished floors, the faint scent of expensive cologne, it all screamed power. But today, that power wasn't Brandon's. When the boardroom doors opened, Brandon turned and froze. His face paled when he saw me. "Claire?" he whispered, masking shock with anger. "What the hell are you doing here?" I walked past him, placing the flash drive on the table. Telling the truth. He laughed, brittle and high. "They're not interested in your emotional breakdowns." But then Aiden entered, and Marcus, and the room shifted. The board chair cleared her throat. "Mr. Whitman, we'll hear your wife first." Brandon's eyes widened. "No, you can't." But they could, and they did. I opened the files, played the recordings, showed the forged signatures, displayed the transfers, the secret accounts, the messages with Savannah, the instructions to frame me. Each revelation hit him like a blow. His mask cracked, then shattered entirely. "That's manipulated. She's lying. This is all—" His voice shrank with every denial. Marcus stepped forward. "Every file is authenticated. I collected most of them myself." Silence. Then the board chair spoke. "Brandon Whitman, you are hereby terminated effective immediately, and the company will pursue legal action." Brandon lunged toward me, fury twisting his face. But Aiden stepped between us, steel in his voice. "Touch her, and you'll regret it." Security dragged Brandon out as he screamed my name. Rage, fear, desperation blending into something pathetic. When the doors closed, the room exhaled. I felt weight lift from my chest, slowly, then all at once. Later, outside the building, Aiden turned to me. "It's over." My voice wavered. "What happens now?" He smiled softly. "Now, you start your life, and if you'll let me, I'd like to be part of it." Something warm bloomed in my chest, gentle, hopeful. I wasn't just free. I was chosen. The sun rose over Manhattan, bright and golden, and for the first time in years, I stepped into the light. So, that's where our story closes for today.
And if you are still here, listening all the way until this moment, then something in this journey has touched your heart in a way words rarely do. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength. Maybe it reminded you of a truth you forgot. Or maybe it simply reminded you that you deserve better than the pain you once accepted. The Stoics used to say, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And when we look at Claire's story, isn't that exactly what she learned?
The world can hurt you, betray you, and turn cold. But your choices, your courage, your boundaries, those are yours. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Claire's suffering didn't break her. It became the doorway to her freedom. And my friend, if you're still here, maybe life is asking you to step through your own doorway too. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep creating stories that heal, empower, and remind us we're never alone. I'm here with you, always. Before we close, I want to gently remind you that the story you just experienced is a work of fiction, created for emotional exploration and personal reflection. The characters, events, and details were crafted to inspire strength and healing, not to represent any real individuals or situations. Our goal is to create meaningful narratives that help us look at life from new angles, feel understood, and grow through the journeys we witness. None of the dramatic elements should be taken as factual claims or real-life accusations. They are storytelling tools meant to move the heart. Thank you for watching with an open mind and open heart. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful, imaginative content for this community we're building together.